coming new year, let's begin to steer not just our lifestyles but also our businesses into the sustainable space. Hello everyone, welcome to Sustainable Living with Shilpa Reddy, powered by Planet Green's Farm Natura, a new beginning to your life. Time changes people's needs, but time's our responsibility to ensure that we don't harm the nature in the due course of meeting our demands. Today, on yet another episode of Dermiq's Nature's Tycoon, I have with me a very innovative and enterprising entrepreneur who steers a wheel towards home farming. His team enabled over 5,000 customers and transformed over 1 lakh square foot spread terraces into home gardens. He, with his partner Manvita and Sai, are on a mission to modernize the concept of farming in urban India. Let's welcome the co-founder of Homecrop, Krishna Reddy. Hi Krishna, I'm really delighted to have you on my show, also because I started natural farming last year and I know what it takes to just get a handful of spinach, and you are into that kind of a business, empowering people and helping them grow. So welcome to my show. I wanted to begin by asking, how did it start? Like, what was the foundational thought when you started Homecrop?
That's a bit of a long story.
I would love to know all about it.
I think that first I have to speak about what I was doing before, then it makes all sense. So for about 10-15 years back, I was in Singapore completely in IT industry. And it so happens that this particular company I was associated, we are into IT solutions for marine oil and gas.
Okay.
And when you hear about oil and gas industries, you know all those exploitation, exploration,
right,
all these kind of things happening. And then what our solutions would do is make this process effective. So the pace at which exploitation happens would actually get better with my solutions. And that we were there for 10 years and that kind of did not, we were doing well. But then the theme did not resonate well with me.
Okay.
And then 2015, when my baby was born, that's when the very thought of coming back to India started.
Okay.
So around the year 2015, I was flying between Singapore and India, and then I met my co-founders. But before that, there were a couple of things that were happening in the year 2015, 2016.
Okay.
One was, if you notice, Subhash Palekar, he got the award, national award for natural farming.
Correct.
And that was running in my head. And something unfortunate that happened was my cousin was also diagnosed with cancer. And I was with him because he's my first cousin, and as a family we are very close.
Okay.
So I was with him for almost 2 months in Mumbai Tata Memorial Hospital. And as a family we believed that it's the food that's the culprit.
Okay.
So everything was going on, and then the very thought of starting something on our own. So all these thoughts resulted in Homecrop.
Okay.
But that's when I also met my co-founders Manvita and Sai.
Right.
And Manvita has, interestingly, me, Manvita, Sai, all were from the same college.
Okay.
VIT Vellore Institute of Technology. But just that me and Sai, we were in the same batch. Of course, different batch, different branches. But Manvita was like 5 years younger to us. She entered VIT after we left.
Okay.
But coincidentally, Manvita's brother is one of my best friend whom we grew up in the college, in Singapore, everything. So that's how I've known her for quite some time. And she did her master's from Imperial College, London.
Right.
And coincidentally, she also came back to India at the same time. And that's when this discussion started happening.
Okay.
And we were rating all those startups that we could be associated or start ourselves, and Homecrop was there in the rock bottom.
Okay.
Because one of the parameters we evaluated was ROI. And obviously this is not at all easy.
Right.
But these factors that I mentioned, like this, on one side you have Subhash Palekar, and on the other side I have my cousin. And Manvita's mother is a great plant lover. So that also helped us ease our decision.
Okay.
But me being in marine oil and gas industry in the IT side for a long time, and Manvita, just at that time she came out from a startup which was successfully acquired by some others. So one of the key parameters that was weighing in us was kind of satisfaction and something that deeply resonates with who we are. And that made us take the decision a lot easier, and finally the Homecrop.
How is your research and development team, and who's on board?
See, research, we actually, the ideation started happening from 2015 to 2016. The company was incorporated in 2016. So what we did as part of our research was we started visiting all those well-known people in this territory. For example, in Hyderabad, we met a person called Shilpa Reddy. He is very, very well-known, but at a local level for terrace gardening. And we went to Chennai. We met someone by name Dr. Krishna, and he is ex-IFS, but then he was promoting this in Chennai. So like this, we kept meeting a lot of people, talking to even home dwellers. Like growing food is such an important thing, but why is it not happening as the way we want?
Right.
So all these questions helped us a lot in framing the product design for Homecrop.
And you know, being in a business which is sustainable, and it's not that easy to sell, like how easy it is to sell any commercial, you know, product. So what drives you, and did you have any kind of a strategy to identify your customer base?
Like you rightly said, even in my career, it was much easier to sell a commercial product than a sustainable product, living product. So that was definitely a challenge. But to be frank, we never had such kind of strategy. Like I've just mentioned that the attachment that we have to this field, broadly it resonates with what you're trying to do as well, sustainable living.
Right.
And that was the single most criteria for us to get started. But what we did consciously is that some of the founding members' previous experience, like the IT firm I was associated, it runs on this thing called disruptive innovation.
Okay.
And the entire methodology at which they look at a problem is different. They run on this theme called jobs to be done. Something that we did consciously at Homecrop in terms of strategy was jobs to be done. It runs on, it comes from disruptive innovation theory, where you look at the problem, you look at the alternatives, how would a customer look at it, what are the alternatives they have. It's much more holistic approach to solving a problem. So that's something that we picked up from my past learning. And something else we took was called blue ocean strategy.
Can you elaborate? I don't know the term blue ocean.
So the blue ocean, like you have an ocean, a blue ocean necessarily means it's blue and then the number of fishes are less. Whereas red means all the fish. When you compare sharks and fishes, you're actually talking about players in the industry. So when you have cutthroat competition, each one cuts and then it becomes a bloodbath. So the blue ocean, which is supposed to be, it becomes a red ocean. So how it translates to Homecrop is whichever product we have designed, whatever launches we have made, we have ensured that it is not within the existing playing ground. So our products are something it's slightly on top head, so that we don't have a head-on collision. In fact, this industry itself gives us that much space because when you look at it from a business point of view, not many have actually looked at it as a commercial enterprise.
You're right.
So that gave us a lot of scope for us to ensure that we are in this blue ocean and we don't enter into that cutthroat competition. So this jobs to be done and blue ocean are two things that we have consciously brought it to Homecrop. Say for example, I think later we'll be speaking about the geotextile grow bags. So that's something which we are one of the first ones to introduce in this Indian market.
You're right. And how are they different from the normal pots? Is there a science behind?
Yeah, there is a science behind it. When you talk about pots or something, right? Either it's ceramic or you have a lot of plastic pots that you commonly observe.
Right.
So plastic plants, from a science point of view, are extremely detrimental to a plant's growth because the plants need that kind of a freedom. They need that air within the root system. So when we talk about our geotextile fabric grow bag, it promotes that necessary aeration.
Right.
So the root growth is much better.
Okay.
And interestingly, it has a lot more features in the sense just like your air conditioner, right? In summer, this bag will ensure that it is cooler inside. Whereas in winter, it will retain the necessary warmth that is required. So it's very, very interesting. And then it's completely eco-friendly in that sense.
That was my next question.
Yeah. And it's completely eco-friendly. And it was a brainchild of Manvita. And I think we launched it some 2-3 years back. And we launched part of our installations, it's there. But when we launched it on Amazon, we are first ones. So even during the last 2-3 years, we still were able to retain that leadership position on Amazon. And right now, whatever environment we are in, the sales have been getting far, far better.
So this bag is completely designed by you and manufactured by you and completely it's your idea?
The ideation was ours, but we got help of fabricators and all these people to fabricate for us. But having said that, this maybe relatively new in Indian market,
Okay.
but then it exists in certain parts around the world where this concept does exist. Just that probably we are the first ones to bring it to the Indian market.
So I think when I look at Homecrop, you must be literally hand holding your clients to empower them till they are equipped to grow on their own.
Yes.
So like how difficult it is for you to have that relation and to keep up that relation between the clients and yourselves.
That's a very good question because it's extremely challenging as well because we fall under urban farming.
Right.
And whether it's me or you or for most of us, this is totally alien.
Right.
We have only seen our grandparents do, but when it comes to our generation, it's completely new.
True.
We have no clue about what happens within a plant. So in that context, we ourselves took a lot of time to learn. And then the challenge is to transmit the same thing to the clients. So when you look at other urban farming companies and Homecrop, the predominant difference is in the hand holding. Because most companies do not dare to touch the service part because that's extremely risky in terms from a business point of view. But then we felt that if we neglect this part, the whole soul itself is lost.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what we do is that for any customer, whenever they come on board, 2 visits are complimentary.
Okay.
And we have designed that 2 visits are complimentary because first is the germination. When germination happens, we are there to ensure that the plants actually take up. And then after 30 days, we are there again to help the client on what they're doing right, what they're not doing right. So these corrections usually within 1 month, if this hand holding happens, most customers would be fine.
Right.
And then on top of that, remote support is anytime free. So any customer can call us, take a picture, discuss us through a video call or WhatsApp call. And that's anytime free, of course, within the working hours.
Right. But as your client base keeps increasing, so will you be able to address this?
See, usually the difficulty is in the first. For any client, it's the initial 1 month, 1.5 months, that's a bit problematic. So that's why we have ensured that the remote support is always free. So we have a technical team who would help the clients remotely. But what we have also done is that for whatever reason, if someone has any difficulty, we have also come up with a maintenance package. Which they can opt for a month, 2 months, 3 months. So we have designed up till 4 months. The 4 months is because that's the plant cycle. It takes from seeding to the harvest. So that's how this service thing runs, and so far it's been giving us positive results in the sense most of the clients are able to retain their garden and then expand their garden.
I think that's your ultimate goal anyways.
Yes. As such, in the starting stage, we do give all those basics, but then once we do it at one time, it's too overwhelming for anyone.
You're right.
So for most people, they would need this. When the problem comes, I need a solution, and only then they remember. So we have this continuous
instead of
program.
overloading them with too much information all in one
It looks simple
go.
for people who knows, but for them it's difficult.
So what are the most common problems that your clients call you guys for?
Some certain things can be so easy. Even watering is a big issue because plants, right? If you water them too much, they're not there, and if you don't water, that's also an issue. So we have to literally show them, practically show them how much to water, how much not to water. But luckily, we spoke about grow bag, right? So we have taken necessary precautions that even in the event there is overwatering, we have given necessary design mechanism to ensure that excess water drains off. So that's one thing, and germination. Of course, even then we take a precaution. At every place where we have to plant a single seed, we plant 2 or 3, so that even if one doesn't turn up, they're still happy.
Okay.
And once the plants start growing, this is usually the initial phase is easier. Once they have reached certain stage, then the pest attack happens. And the whole point why we started Homecrop is toxin-free food. Access to toxin-free food.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we can never use a chemical. We don't want to use a chemical, and we can never use a chemical to get rid of. So all it has to do with organic means. And that's extremely difficult, and that requires a client's continuous observation. If a client doesn't look at a plant for a day or 2, and if there's a pest invasion, that's extremely difficult.
Yeah, the whole crop is gone.
If they let us know on the same day, then it's easy. As such, we have a lot of preventive measures, but then they also have to be extremely prompt, just like your pets at home. Such is the care that they have to take care when the plants are at home.
So do you have something from your company that you give to your clients to control the pests?
Yes, as such, when we prepare the media, we add a lot of pongamia cake, neem oil, neem cakes, everything gets added. That itself helps. But then that will only sustain for a certain amount of time. So as such, we give them certain formulations in terms of sprays, which they have to do it once a week. So that is a preventive measure.
Right.
But despite all these things, when there is a seasonal change, so the pest attack will happen.
True.
And it's a good sign. When a pest comes to your garden, it means that it is organic.
Okay.
When you use a chemical source, no pest would eat. They are smart enough, unlike us. They know what to eat, what not to eat.
Right.
So they would never come to a chemical garden. Well, your organic garden, they would come.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have all these things. Maybe just to add on, right, in this question. So what we have also been doing recently, last 2-3 months, went into heavy R&D precisely for this question. In the sense that setting up a garden is extremely easy, but sustaining a garden is extremely difficult.
I agree.
So we've, me, Manvita, Sai, last 3 months we are completely into this R&D. Luckily, we managed to get a scientist of international caliber to come on board.
Wonderful.
Who has been with plants as such. You've heard of human probiotics, right?
Right. Yes.
So there is similar things for plant probiotics as well.
Right.
Which genuinely increases the resistance from within, like what it does for humans. So he has got that speciality, and we threw up all the problems, and then we came up with a formulation to make it really easy. In the sense, day one, once you have planted with this media, subsequent weeks, there is a spray that has all these plant probiotics, which increases the resistance, pest management, nutrition management, everything comes in a single spray. All that you have to do is weekly once.
Be regular with your spraying.
That's it. And it will take most of them. But what I've also identified is there are like regular things that you observe on the leaf, like the white lines.
Patches and lines.
White lines.
Right.
And then, so for all these, we have got a emergency kits. So moment you notice this is what you have to do.
Oh, wow.
So this, like the DIY concept, we are coming up with something called Grow It Yourself series.
Okay.
Wherein we don't have to be with you. You could take this kit, buy from Amazon or whichever source, and you are self-sufficient with this kit. So that is also a blue ocean for that example, which
Right.
no one has done it so far in our country.
I think I need to buy that kit as well. Wow, this is really impressive. Like you are literally addressing the problem from every angle possible.
Yeah, I think this comes out of all the struggles that we underwent in the last 4 years, because only when you're on ground, only when you understand client trouble, then these kind of insights comes into, first is problem identification. Once your problem identification is done with the kind of science and technology we have, I think it's easy to match them.
This picture of Nagarjuna Garu sowing seeds in one of your grow bags went viral.
Okay.
And I think even Samantha's garden is full of Homecrop. So how did this happen, and did that really give a boost to your company?
I think firstly it gave us a lot of boost to us as a team.
Okay.
Because this happened immediately after the lockdown was released.
Right.
And before that, it was extremely difficult business, like most of the sustainable businesses. And we were contemplating on brainstorming various models. And close to the lockdown lifting, suddenly we got an email. And I was actually talking to Manvita on the call, and then I was checking my phone, and email came from Samantha. Okay, is this which Samantha? Is it our Samantha or someone else? And then then Manvita called her. That was our first interaction.
Okay.
And then she said, okay, I know about Homecrop. I've been doing my own research. What can you do for me? And then we met her. The experience was so beautiful that she was involved personally for each and every meeting and for the installation.
Right.
And something that surprised me was, like I just mentioned, right, with any client initially we do the knowledge transfer. And she was insistent, any knowledge please transfer to me first.
Right.
And I'll transfer to my helpers.
Correct.
So she was so particular, and we
Right.
gave her, since she was so excited, we gave her a bundle of things to read. And the next day at 6 o'clock, Manvita got a list of questions. Tuck, 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 tuck. So that was beautiful experience.
Right.
And probably because of the care that she has for her garden, the yield was fantastic.
Right. I know I saw some pictures like where she has a bunch of carrots.
Yeah,
I
recently.
mean, from just a terrace garden, it was so hard to believe that so much yield could happen.
Yes. And interestingly, the pictures went viral, and we have a lot of inquiries,
Right.
and that was a brilliant experience. And she also took us to Nagarjuna Garu,
Right,
because she was so happy with her garden. She took us, and that was also one extraordinary experience to have work on Nagarjuna Garu's garden.
Right.
It was also interesting in the sense that he was there throughout the installation.
They are all like plant lovers and animal lovers.
That's
and
what
I
we
can
realized.
imagine. Yeah.
And the interesting thing was he mentioned, okay, wherever possible, please involve me. And then the entire seeding part for the entire garden, he did it himself.
Right.
And that's not so imaginable for us.
Right.
And towards the end, it was such a pleasant experience when he thanked us. Thank you for making this garden beautiful, which we don't usually hear, but then he was there.
So I also heard lockdown and this pandemic did good to your companies. Can you elaborate how?
Yep. See, I've just mentioned that before COVID, we were seriously contemplating on our business models. Does this online installations having such kind of manpower, would it make business sense? So those were running in our mind. Of course, online, I just mentioned about Amazon and other things that were doing fine. So should we scale down this and just focus on that? These thoughts were running around. And then suddenly, all of a sudden, this thing was abrupt for all of us. That came.
Right.
And then Sam and Nagarjun Garu happened for us. Suddenly, the phone started ringing often.
Naturally.
But the major difference is before COVID, even when people call us or when we approach them, there's a lot of, you have to create a lot of awareness. Why should you have it in the first place? And then you would have very interesting questions. How much is this kit? Okay, outside I go, I'll get a tomato for 10 rupees. Does it make sense? And then I have to explain everything. Okay, this is not the way to look at. First of all, you have to compare with organic.
Right.
And even if it is organic, all our publications, every day they keep telling us 90% of organic stuff is not organic.
Correct.
So can you believe it is organic? So you can't believe. So the only option left is you have to grow it yourself. That's one. And then I have to tell them, if you don't eat this, you'll have other expenses like hospital expenses. So when you compare all this is a no-brainer. Probably 1% of this entire spending that you make, you have to invest in your garden. So a lot of time happens in this itself. But post-COVID,
everyone realized
everyone
the
is
importance
sure
of
about
health.
even when you try to explain why you should no need. I'm very clear on why need.
Wow.
And then just right to the point, how much does it cost? How much area? What varieties can I grow?
So it made your job pretty easy.
It was unimaginable for us. We never thought that this thing could happen in our industry. The last 3 years were different, and just that last 3 months were totally different.
So Krishna, what is your idea of sustainability?
That's a good question, because whether it's Homecrop or even all other startups that me and my team were associated, the underlying theme is sustainable living. If this one factor is missing, we would not even touch that. We would not invest our lives into that. So, but when I think deeper into this, why, like me, Manvita, Sai, why are we so similar? Because it's very uncommon for people to have this kind of personality.
Right.
But for all the 3 founding members, this has been a core inherent trait of us. And interestingly, when I think about it and reflect, I was actually nicknamed as Captain Planet in my college days, because I would be very angry at my friends if I see them wasting the water, the tap is open, and if I see them wasting the food. So that was there. And when I go back even deeper personally, me and my family, we come from a village. So when I was born, when me and my brother were born, we moved to a town. And in those days, just for water, drinking water, you have to queue up in front of a tap. And me and my brother, we were helping my mother.
Oh.
I think could be one of the main reason why this looking at planet Earth, Mother Earth, or looking at each and every resource with a lot of care, precision, might have crept into my personality, and that becomes a critical factor in whichever decision I make.
Wonderful.
And same is the case with Manvita. As I said, her mother is a plant lover.
Right.
And despite whoever she is, similar kind of family settings I've observed. And same is the case with Sai. Interesting thing about Sai's family is that they have made that change in all their water facility, that the water flows at a slower rate. Simply because it doesn't give any opportunity for them to waste water. I think that probably is a family thing as well.
So it's like your vibe attracts your tribe. I think holds true in your business partners. So I also learnt about your school crop. Can you elaborate all about that?
This is very interesting, and it makes it even more interesting to have this conversation with you. I'll explain you why.
Okay.
School crop runs on this philosophy. Whether it's your life or education, it should not be taught in isolation. The moment it is taught in isolation, the essence is lost. So when we were scripting the genesis of school crop, one word that defines school crop is actually Ekam.
Oh.
That's why I said it is interesting in that sense.
I knew you were getting there because, the philosophy sounded exactly like what was in my mind.
Yes. So, in that sense, school crop runs on this particular methodology called GBL, garden-based learning. And previously when I was talking to Kanti, he rightly summed up in a sentence that all our science and technology has originated from agriculture. That's why you have the word culture in agriculture.
Right.
So there is nothing that can be taught using this garden or for that matter agriculture. So what we do is we make use of urban farming, which we are already doing through Homecrop. So Homecrop becomes a foundation for school crop.
Okay.
And we use these tools to make a curriculum out of entire thing. So we have taught math, we have taught bit of physics, and all our festivals for that matter, Pongal, everything is seasonal, the change of sun directions.
Yeah, the harvest. And,
Exactly.
all
Yeah,
of that.
everything revolves around this. And then it becomes extremely interesting for children. And it started as an experiment, but then if not for COVID, that would have been such a fantastic journey as well.
I think, do you also believe that you have to educate a common man to change his spending pattern when it comes to food? Because I think the budget we allot for food is a lot less than what we allot for other things in our lives.
That's unfortunately so true. When it comes to food, cheapest is what most of us decide. But even here it is a bit tricky in the sense, even at an affordable scale, there are a lot of solutions that are environmentally friendly, that are extremely nutritious, and at the end the farmer also benefits.
Can you name a few?
For example, maybe I'll quote one of the startups in Hyderabad, like you know Nourish You, right?
Yes.
And they're a superfood company and all their farmers are extremely happy because they give buyback guarantee.
Okay.
And even if the yield doesn't come up, they give the minimum wages to them. And they're one of the first companies to bring quinoa and chia into Indian market. So, of course, these are on the expensive side. I'll also come to an example where it is affordable. But then because quinoa and chia and quinoa, the reason why is because all the affluent people, we have that habit of aping the West, so that becomes easy.
Superfoods, what they come from there, we just
that becomes
want to
easy
use
and then it percolates down.
Correct.
But quinoa and chia are extremely eco-friendly in that sense. They would not treat these kind of fertilizers and everything to be sprayed, and it can be grown in even areas like Rayalaseema.
Okay, with less water.
Less water requirement. And I said I'll quote you another example. Right? Millets are classical example. It's very much affordable.
Right.
Of course, right now processing is taking, but when with good technology, even that cost could come much, much lower. And this is not something so alien to us. This is what we have been doing.
From thousands of years.
Exactly. Just those, I think we as a nation last 20, 30 years is something we went wrong. We started losing what we have and started copying certain things from everywhere, which are not at all sustainable. Otherwise, all our practices have been super sustainable.
You're right.
We don't have to learn from only our grandparents are good enough to teach us what we have to do.
Exactly. So do you think there is hope? Because I've seen a lot of people, having this dialogue of bringing back, going back to our roots and bringing back our old way of doing, things like whether it's agriculture or skincare, anything that for that matter. So do you see that happening also?
Because that's the only way. Because everything else is not sustainable. You have the solution, 2-3 problems would pop out. And these are age proven, like for decades together proven.
Right.
That definitely would happen in my opinion.
As an entrepreneur, what would your suggestion be for startup, startup companies who are again in sustainable sector? What should they keep in mind and what practices should they adopt to keep their businesses sustainable?
That's really a tough question because we are in the midst of cracking. Of course, right now we are confident that we will crack it. But as such, one thing I could say to all of them is the timing. This time, what we are having now, there has been no time that has been conducive for sustainable businesses. Because for most businesses, you don't have to talk about awareness part, which is a big saver.
Right.
So this is a brilliant time for anyone who has thought about sustainable business. Right now is the time for them to get into this. And I can only foresee that these businesses that are involved in sustainable only will get bigger and bigger. Because this thought has, for the first time I believe, it has crept into humanity. They started looking at what am I eating, what is good, what is bad, is it good for the planet. These thoughts, we never even had a dialogue when you look at the last 30, 40 years.
Right.
Of course, beyond that, we were always conscious about environment. But last 30, 40 years mentioned something has happened and we don't give a damn to the planet. Always businesses means exploiting planet.
Correct.
The more money I make, the more exploitation should happen. Now this trend is changing, probably thanks to COVID, I don't know.
I know it's like a blessing in disguise, is what everyone who had come here earlier also had spoken and said the same thing.
Okay.
It's unfortunate, but then something beautiful has come out of it because the dialogue has changed. People started looking at their own lives a little more deeper than ever before.
Yeah.
And I think that's why your business also is flourishing during this
I
time.
think interestingly, when we were working with Pavan Kalyan Garu, he is also, I mean, everyone knows that he's
Right.
completely in this.
Correct.
He was also there with us for the entire thing because
Oh.
that day it was raining.
Huh.
So typical installation of that scale usually takes 2 hours or something, because since it was raining, we have to take 6 hours, we have to carry forward it to the next day. He was there for the entire thing. And the single thing he said towards the end was, enterprises like you should survive, should become profitable. Only then it's good for the planet. And that
Again,
was very
ecology
touching.
and economy.
Yeah, beautiful. So these are things that actually propels us, motivates us.
Krishna, what is your company's mission statement, and how do you, visualize your company a few years down the road?
I think I've just mentioned that the whole point why we started was we ourselves were having difficulty in having access to toxin-free food. So if we, whom we consider to be certain of privileges, if we ourselves are having such difficulties, what about others? So we started Homecrop with a vision of having easy access to toxin-free food. So, and eventually we want every terrace, balcony, windowsill to be a place where you could grow your food. And in this context, maybe in about 2-3 months' time, we are also launching good enough information for people who have this interest to start their kitchen gardens at zero budget.
Wow.
So they don't have to come to us. We are
So
coming
it's online?
It will be available on our apps and on our website.
Okay.
And even for them, they can always reach out to our, if they have any difficulties, they can reach out to our support number for any questions. And all those things that can be done at home, some of the remedies, they are beautiful remedies where you don't have to go to market, you can do it, your buttermilk, all garlic, ginger, everything is a remedy at home. So we're trying to conceptualize, organize all this content, have it there. And for all others, I just mentioned about Grow It Yourself series, where we're making it really easy. I think that even this week we are having some product launches, and for next 2 to 3 months we will have series of close to 20 SKUs. Like you have a kit where you call it a Palak kit. So it comes with a complete set with instructions, with tutorials where you could grow it yourself.
Wow.
And there is, I just spoke about maintenance kit.
Right.
So what are the troubles that you would have within a grow cycle, and what are the remedies? So you don't have to really have anyone, just this thing is good enough. So with these products coming in, and of course there is also a secret product, the final weapon for us. I think with all this coming in, I would not want to put a number to it, but what we are now, I could see at least 10 to 20 times scaling happening for Homecrop.
So as of now, how many clients do you have? Or
See-
how many clients did you help growing
Yes.
their own crops?
Because that the number is a bit tricky, because certain kind of clients would fall under installation category, who would say that I have this 50, 100 SFT where the manpower has to go in, and then we this. And there are other set of clients who would buy things from us. Like I said, we are the best seller and the leader in grow bag segment. So there, right now, last month, I think close to 5,000 customers have bought from us on Amazon,
Wow.
month on month. So
Right.
these numbers are actually kind of doubling. So that's when one of our founding members, Sai, is completely only on Amazon, because response is coming from there, how to make it better. So with all these things said, right now we are in slightly on the doubling mode.
So Krishna, we were talking the other day, and you mentioned you were also an Isha meditator, and so am I. So did your meditation or inclination towards spirituality also took you close to the cause you're addressing?
Interestingly, not just me, all my founding members, whether directly or indirectly, falls under this Isha umbrella. And most of the decisions we make are consciously or unconsciously influenced by his videos or his things. And So at Homecrop, for that matter, when you look at Homecrop, Schoolcrop, and there are other startups that we are either associated or we have started up. So all our business decisions are directly or indirectly influenced by Sadhguru and Isha Foundation. Just to quote an example, the recent new startup that we launched, we have coined it as Joyful Insight.
So Krishna, we had such an insightful conversation, and I'm really fascinated, and I think I'll be your student as well. I need to get a hold of all the things that you mentioned to save, my crops also from pests. So we'll take that forward later. But thank you again for your time, and we would love to give you a small hamper from Nourish You again, which is nourishing and healthy.
Thanks a lot for having me on the show.
A pleasure
It was
is
a pleasant
ours.
conversation.
As a token of appreciation for your time and effort for coming here, we have a hamper from Nourish You.
Nourish You. Yeah, thank you so much.
I hope you all enjoyed the conversation. Please make sure you subscribe to my channel. Stay tuned for more updates. See you all next week. Shilpa Reddy signing off.